All right, welcome back, everybody, to the HSC podcast. Here we are with Big Box Steve, Fresh Wes, and Derek with the same nickname, the Natural Boy, but we'll go ahead and give him a new one next week, I promise. So, big week this week in the playoffs. So we're going to jump right in because we got a lot to talk about today. If you guys are watching this podcast, please, like and subscribe. Make sure you hit notifications so you can hear the next one's coming up. If you don't enjoy football, I promise we'll be doing other things as well. So, but now it's playoff time, which is the best time on the world. So we're going to keep talking playoffs, right? Because everybody loves football. So first, let's recap the divisional round. Rough week for us as far as our picks, but what a great week it was, right? Probably one of the best playoff weeks that I've seen in a long time, as far as just all the games were great. Could have gone either way. Like we could have been 4-0, could have been 0-4. I think we're all tied up now. I think Derek, you had a good week. Actually, you and Wes had the same week, right? Were you guys both 2-2?
Yep, we each picked different games, but we still ended up 2-2.
Yeah, so let's talk about the different games. So Wes, you're the only one that went with Kansas City over Buffalo, which was an amazing game, right? Probably one of the best games I've seen in a long time, especially now we're talking playoffs. So, how are you feeling in that game, and why were you confident KC wins that game?
I thought Mahomes would play one of his best games of the season, not make too many mistakes. And I knew it was going to be close. It could have gone either way, but Buffalo had the game. 13 seconds left. It looked like the game was over. I was like, game over. And just Mahomes just really, really played like he did a couple of years ago in the clutch, when they won the Super Bowl. But Josh Allen, I've never seen a quarterback run so much in my life. That guy's just an animal. Like he's got such a bright future. Honestly, closest thing that I see physically with all the tools to John Elway, the way he just maneuvers around the pocket, throws the football on the run. Running the football.
He's big, dude. He's hard to tackle.
Yeah, but yeah, Mahomes that was unbelievable.
He is looking like Super Bowl Mahomes, right? Last year he was a little off, but you're right. I think you're right in that, where he's looking like he did when they won the Super Bowl, but maybe a little bit older, a little more mature. So yeah, talking about that game for a second, Derek, defensively, what do you do differently, and how did Buffalo mess up there in 13 seconds?
So many things. First off, they should have squib kicked.
Because that kills time right there, right?
Yes. You would have had like 8 seconds left instead of 13 from the 25. So also I can't stand prevent. Here's something I was thinking of watching these games, and it's kind of like when you watch basketball and hack a shack. There's 8 seconds left. You don't get time back. Just do a defensive holding. Defensive holding. It's only 5 yards. They get a first down, but it doesn't matter. It's about time.
Yeah.
When Kelsey got through, you hold him. Okay, then they get 5 yards. Okay, but then there's only like 4 seconds left. It was
just strategy.
It was ridiculous, and they just you can't let Tyreek Hill have just. You need to bump and run him. You need to bump him at least. Even if you're playing zone, someone needs to get a free shot. He can't have free shots down the field, because then he just runs by everyone and does a deuce 5 yards from the end zone, because the guy he knows is faster than everyone. Yeah, it was total. I don't know. I couldn't believe how bad for a team that was a top 5 defense to play so bad. And then don't get even me started on, but Buffalo didn't get a chance in overtime. You had 13 seconds to win the game, and you couldn't stop them.
Yeah. I mean, there is something to be said about the overtime rules, though, because I think they suck. But the reality is they lost in regulation, right? Because they should have won the game. So, yeah, I get that. I like that strategy. Talking about let's just hold them. And let's talk about prevent for a second, because that kind of leads us into this other game, this Tampa Bay Rams game, right? So they send pressure and they go into a cover 0, and now you got Cooper Kupp running down the middle of the field with a safety, not a great cover safety in Winfield either, right? He's not that fast, and he took a terrible angle on it, like he's already chasing him. And you're supposed to be the deep safety. So what's the difference between, going that prevent or, sending pressure, where's that middle ground? So Wes, what do you think? You're talking about that defense in the game. You see Tampa get burned on pressure. You see Bills get burned on prevent. In the Tampa game, how do they do that differently with what they're looking at?
Well, I mean, it's just inexcusable to leave. I mean, to let Cooper Kupp get behind, get behind you. It's couldn't believe when I saw, when the throw, I was like, okay, where's it say? There's nobody. It was a major mistake because Tampa Bay had all the momentum. They looked like they're gonna come back, win the game. Tom Brady's gonna do what he usually does, and just to allow that to happen, it's just serious, schematical error, players just not doing their job. You should know. Okay, they have to get 40 yards just to win the game. Don't let them run free.
Well, you think about that. It's like you just have a kicker who just missed a kicked short on a 47-yarder or something like that, right? I mean, I think it's almost the opposite of the way the two teams played. If I'm Tampa, I am, getting back and saying, okay, I'm going to make this field goal kicker beat me. Give them that little underneath. They had no timeouts. They probably would have got to say, the 40 or so, and maybe the 35 if they're lucky, but they still looking at a 50-yard field goal, 50 plus. And you make that kicker beat you, but instead they send pressure, and now you got Kupp running down the middle of the field, wide open. And where if I'm Buffalo, I'm not sitting back in the prevent. I'm not blitzing necessarily because I don't want to leave, Hill or somebody getting behind me, especially with the speed they got. But I'm just going to play normal defense. I'm just going to come out in regular defense, hope I get pressure with my regular line, but keep them in front of you. But at the same time, you can't give up 2 20-yard passes, and they got timeouts. So that was I think, there's kind of some opposites that happen there, but great games. So talk about the Tampa. Tampa has all the momentum. They probably win that game in overtime if it goes to overtime. The Rams are reeling, making mistakes like crazy. How did you feel about that, Derek?
I was at my mom's house, and the Rams are up by 2 touchdowns. So I'm driving home, and we're at a red light, and I check my phone, and I'm like, what just happened? And then it's like 4 fumbles. 4. It was inexcusable. But then, credit to the Rams, they didn't give up. Usually when you unravel like that with 4 fumbles, you give Brady the chance to win, you unravel. But the big difference is, and this is where teams need to always adapt to who you're playing. Stafford is one of the best quarterbacks against the blitz. Tampa blitzes more than any other team in the NFL. They should have known you can't blitz Stafford. He's going to tear you apart. It's the same with you don't play soft zone against Brady because he will just pick you apart. And that's what, I mean, like you said, if they would have just played a cover 2, cover 3, it wouldn't have been that big a deal. Same with Buffalo. You played a cover 2, cover 3, nothing. You don't let anyone get by you. You give up 7 yards. Oh well, and you make a tackle. It's the problem is you should be playing the same kind of defense you play the whole entire game. Just make little tweaks. What are we like? Greg Williams got fired last year for playing a cover 0 with like 10 seconds left in the game. I don't know what he was thinking. Todd Bowles.
Yeah. Terrible calls there, I think, at the end of those games. I mean, and then, so here's these crazy games. And I think in my opinion, the Packers 49ers game might even have been better just because, that punt block at the end makes it so much more exciting because now you got special teams making them play. And then the Tennessee game, same thing. You've got two teams that just beat each other up all game and a lot of field goals, and Cincinnati pulls it out in the end. So really, really great. Now, talking about the Cincinnati game for a second, we all picked Cincinnati. That game was closer than I thought it'd be. I actually thought Cincinnati would win by a little bit more. I think they made it their own mistakes, but well, let's jump now into the championship. Let's into the conference championships. With that said, let's start with Cincinnati and KC. So what are Cincinnati's chances here? A lot. Everything I'm seeing, they're not giving them a lot of chance. A lot of people are saying, "Hey, Kansas City easily wins this, goes to the Super Bowl." So, well, actually, before we talk about that, let's talk about KC winning the Super Bowl. So we had some preseason picks. So we talked preseason and we picked some preseason. And Wes, you have KC winning the Super Bowl, which of the three of us, you're the only one that has anybody left, right? You got Tampa and KC as a rematch with KC winning. So you're looking good here. How you feeling about that? You think KC's still winning this?
Yeah, I mean, most likely Kansas City should win this game. But I'm, of course, I study Super Bowl history. I know what's happened between the Bengals and the Niners. And it's been 40 years since they first played. In Super Bowl 16.
What a great rematch.
So honestly, that's the only way I'm giving Cincinnati a chance, just because, okay, this is bizarre, Niners and Bengals. But other than that, Cincinnati is going to have to play a flawless game on offense, and they're going to have to get Mahomes to throw some picks. They're going to have to make Mahomes, get him frustrated, make him throw the ball in places where, force the issue to have a chance. Mixon's going to have to, run for, 100 yards. Ball control maybe in the fourth quarter just to keep the ball away from Mahomes. They have a chance. But I think Kansas City's going to have to make some mistakes.
Yeah, I think you're right there. But that preseason prediction, even though you're not going out on a limb, I think having KC winning and still being in there, that's pretty good. Derek, both you and I had Buffalo in the Super Bowl. You actually had Buffalo winning the Super Bowl. So we both took kind of a heartbreak on that game of our Super Bowl predictions.
I had Buffalo, Green Bay.
Yeah, so it was a double.
Heartbreaks.
Yeah. And I had Tampa Bay, Buffalo. So we had a double heartbreak, this on this. Speaking of the preseason predictions, and I'm not going to go through every single prediction, but we did pretty good at picking most of the playoff teams. And as I was looking at these, a couple teams we missed and a couple teams we had in that I kind of wanted to talk about and see what our thoughts here is Seahawks, right? And Browns. We all thought the Seahawks and Browns would both make the playoffs. So who's a bigger disappointment, Seahawks or Browns? What do you think, Derek?
I would say the Browns. Seahawks they have an excuse. Russell Wilson missed half the season almost. I mean, he was hurt. The Browns are supposed to be the super team. Baker Mayfield was supposed to go into the top echelon. He was going to be a top 5 quarterback. They had Odell Beckham. They had the Chubb and Hunt. They had the defense. They were the team that should have been winning that North, but they just did what they kind of did last year, where they have all this talent and they just couldn't perform. So yeah, I'd have to say the Browns.
Browns are bigger. So same question, Wes, but with an additional question is how big of a surprise were the Bengals? Because none of us have the Bengals going to into the playoffs. Now they're in the championship. So bigger disappointment, Browns or Seahawks, and talk about how big of a surprise the Bengals are.
I didn't have much faith in Seattle just because of the dysfunction in the offseason. Russell Wilson's not happy. It seems like there's dissension between Pete Carroll and just everybody in the organization as a whole, players. Seems like they're not really buying in anymore. So I didn't have much faith in the Seahawks. Browns are the bigger disappointment to me, or to say that I don't have much faith in Baker Mayfield leading, a franchise, even as talented as the Browns, deep in the playoffs, consistently. And then, he makes the bonehead play of, I'm gonna, be one of the guys to go out there. I'm gonna make a tackle when I make a mistake, and it honestly cost their season because he made a bonehead play. You don't do stuff like that. You don't have to prove how tough you are. You're a quarterback. You're a quarterback that does a bunch of commercials, and you have your resume is not very long to be doing all those commercials and being on TV so much. So the Browns as a team overall, I mean, their running game, I mean, they were built for the playoffs with that running game, that two-headed monster,
and that defense, right?
And the defense, I mean, it's all right there for Baker Mayfield. All he had to do was just stay healthy, and yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know that he has the ability, though. I don't know that he can lead a team deep, and I think you're right there. So, what about the Bengals? Like, how big of a surprise is the Bengals to be where they're at right now?
It's a surprise, but I was surprised just how fast Burrow was able to come back from the knee injury. And I mean, and Jamar Chase, I didn't really understand what a weapon, that he could just do so much damage to secondaries in the NFL. And him and Burrow just had that connection. That surprised me, just how explosive Chase was, and Burrow was able to come back from the knee as well as he did, as quickly as he did. So, and overall, I mean, as overall team, I mean, they got playmakers on both sides of the ball. Surprised a little bit.
They're playing above expectations, and it's very shocking. Obviously, none of us picked them to go to the playoffs. And then how about the opposite surprise here in the playoffs, Derek? The Packers, who you picked to go to the Super Bowl. How big of a disappointment are they losing, first round bye, number one seed at home in the snow, right? I mean, if that's not a Packers game, I don't know what is. How big of a disappointment is that?
Well, it's odd because, it was a Packers game if you're the Packers of old. But it was actually a 49ers game because it fit everything the 49ers do. Play really good defense and run the ball. And that's what they did. And the whole thing was I think Aaron Rodgers' mindset was, I'm not going to throw an interception to lose this game. So he played very conservative because he had no reason to not. They had a lead. 49ers couldn't do anything. Jimmy G is not very good. All they had to do was be able to get a punt off, and they win that game. So it's because they couldn't do anything on offense either. The 49ers defense was just getting on Rodgers the whole game. So I don't know. Rodgers also has a horrible record in the playoffs.
Yeah, you can't argue that, right? 11-10. Yeah, that's a hard one to argue. But I agree. I guess when you talk about the 49ers and their play style, I guess that was kind of ideal conditions for them coming in and being able to run the ball and play good defense. So taking the 49ers now into the NFC Championship week, 49ers and Rams, which, man, I didn't have this game picked. So Derek, what do you think? So who wins this game? 49ers, Rams, kind of opposite teams, like looking totally different.
It's the third time they're meeting. The Niners, Kyle Shanahan seems to always have McVay's number.
Six in a row,
he's
right?
in his head. Yes. But playoffs are a different animal. The Rams are a different team. When you add people and you become a super team, usually it doesn't work out. But Von Miller and Odell Beckham Jr. have gone back to their peak performances in the playoffs. And I think they're going to be the difference in this game. Because the Rams right now have just as good of a defense as the 49ers.
Yeah.
And the difference is the Rams offense is heads and above the 49ers offense. So I think it's going to be the Rams 21-10. I think Garoppolo is going to make a few mistakes, and that's what's going to cost him the game.
Okay. And I know, you got to admit, though, Jimmy G has a good winning percentage, right? So he hasn't lost that much, especially in the playoffs.
If he doesn't have to do anything, he wins games. If the ball's in his court, if he's the one has to win the game, it's not going to happen.
Right. So, I mean, yeah, but you can't take anything away from the guy, right? I mean, he's not a scrub. You can't be where he's at with the win percentage he has in the playoffs as well. He's had some injuries, obviously held him back a little bit, but I don't discount Jimmy G personally. I think he is a decent quarterback, but I like your assessment of the game there as well. So Wes, what do you think? You think that 21-10, is that a good pick there? You picking Rams? You picking 49ers? What's happening?
Yeah, it's Rams are playing at home.
Sort of.
They're pretty close.
I think on paper, you look at the Rams, they score over, Derek's saying, over 21 points. They should win the game. I don't have much faith in 49ers offense trying to outscore Matthew Stafford. I think defensively, 49ers are going to have to play the way they did against Rodgers. keep the game under 20 points to have a chance to win. Do I think that's going to happen? No, I don't. But the Niners got a puncher's chance. I mean, it could happen. Matthew Stafford can make mistakes. Things can happen. Like, the crazy block punt. I mean, it's just unbelievable. That
Never know.
I haven't seen a play like that in a while. Just completely changed the game. So, am I picking the Rams? Yes, I'm picking the Rams. But Niners got a chance. But again, they defensively, they have to keep playing like they have, for the whole playoffs. They're just going to have to get after Stafford, make him make mistakes, strip sacks, make him hurt.
So give us you got a score prediction?
Say 24-14.
24-14 Rams, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard in this situation because it took everything I had, to talk myself out of picking the 49ers to beat the Packers.
Yeah.
I really wanted to. I thought they could win the game, but it was hard to pick them. And so I went with the Packers. And, the 49ers have been surprising me all playoffs. And here's what I think the difference in the game's going to be is Deebo Samuel. I think Deebo Samuel is going to cause a problem for the Rams that it's going to throw off their defense to a sense where they're going to leave other people open. They're going to forget about other players. Here's a big one, George Kittle. Forget about this guy, right? He made a huge difference, in that Packers game, hitting those short slants that they were leaving open all game. I think they're going to go back to some of that. And Deebo Samuel's going to play, he's going to have a great game, but he's also going to be a wild card where they're not going to know how to cover him. Tampa, when their defense came around at the end, rattled the Rams. And the 49ers have a similar style, but I think better than what Tampa has for sure. And when that line gets going and Stafford gets in his own head, I'm going to go with the 49ers. And I'm going to go with the 49ers 28-21. They're going to score a couple defense, or at least one on defense, and then they're going to win this game 28-21. And so I'm just not going to kick myself for not picking the 49ers again. So we're going 49ers.
That's Deebo Samuel. He's definitely the factor that it's hard just to it's hard to defend what they're going to do with him. So I mean, that's, again, if he can make some big plays, keep the ball also away from the Rams. Yeah, as like I said, they have a chance.
So let's jump over to the AFC. Now we're talking Bengals, KC. I think everybody in the world thinks KC wins this game. And I don't know. I'd like to think the Bengals have a chance, but I would love to see the Bengals 49ers rematch. So I'm picking the Bengals. I'm going to pick them. And here's how they're going to win. They're going to win in by not putting pressure on Mahomes. They're going to sit back. They're going to drop more people into coverage. Their line by itself was going to get a little pressure on him. And that's where they're going to win the game, is by not having to blitz him. And they're just going to slow him down. They're going to get some punts out of him. Burrow has had great numbers against KC. They're just on a roll. I didn't think that they would go this far. I actually thought they would lose this round to the Bills. But since the Bills aren't in it, I'm going with the Bengals. And I'm going to go in a high-scoring game again. and I'm going to go 31-24. Bengals. Bengals, 49ers rematch. Who doesn't love it? What do you think, Derek?
That sounds pretty good because I'm picking the Bengals to win also. And it goes against logic because I believe Melvin Ingram's going to have a big game, get to Burrow a lot. I just feel like you saw that Kansas City couldn't stop Buffalo. And I think Cincinnati has a better offense. They have 2,000-yard receivers, 1,000-yard running back. I mean, Joe Burrow. Plus, they have Tyler Boyd. I think it's just Joe Burrow is locked in right now, and nothing phases him. Plus, Buckner missed a field goal in the last game against the Bills, so I don't know. He's usually automatic, where McPherson is automatic. He doesn't miss, and has the most 50-yard field goals in a season without a miss. So, I'm taking Cincinnati 42-38, in a big shootout.
And a high-scoring one.
Yes.
You mentioned Melvin Ingram there. I want to talk about that for a second. Is I also believe that Cincinnati learns from what happened in Tennessee with the sacks, and Burrow, and they go to Burrow and they say, look, we're going to put some play, because they had no plays for short, quick, get rid of the ball for him. I mean, he's getting blitzed more, 5-6 guys coming sometimes, and he has nobody running short routes. They're all going 10, 15 yards down the field. I think they learned from that. And I think Kansas City doesn't and says, we're going to attack Joe Burrow, right? They're going to send people. And I think Cincinnati's going to be ready for that, in the sense of that they're going to learn where Cincinnati or KC thinks they're learning to attack. And I think Kansas City or Cincinnati has some good short routes lined up, a lot of flares, getting the ball to Mixon, quickly, and utilizing some of those short passes. So
getting Chase in the open field. If you get Chase in the open field, it might be
quick slant and he's ready to go. I mean, that guy can go for 70 every time. So Wes, what do you think here? What's going to happen in this game? I mean, obviously you got KC winning the Super Bowl. Or you had KC winning the Super Bowl. That might be different right now. What do you think?
I know the whole Cincinnati and San Francisco thing. I mean, I just keep looking at that. But I've done this before. I've always I revert back to Super Bowl history, and this is going to happen. This is going to happen. Of course, it's going to happen. Just like 2 years ago, it was supposed to be the Packers and the Chiefs, and this the same thing. I always get stuck in that. I'm not going to get stuck in that this time because it's Patrick Mahomes. Even though I see this actually playing out kind of like the Buffalo game, I think Cincinnati is going to do everything to win that game, because Burrow is he's a gamer. He's not afraid of anything. Chase is baller. They're gonna give Kansas City everything that they have. But at the end of the day, I think Patrick Mahomes has got something to prove. There was all this talk earlier in the season. What's wrong with him? The Super Bowl, I think, really, really, really brought him back to reality. Like, you can be the best quarterback in NFL history, and then you could be, you can go to a Super Bowl and you can just lay eggs like John Elway did, and just get embarrassed. And he got embarrassed against Tampa Bay. And I think that just kind of sits with them. And I think that at the end of the day, when everything's on the table, he's going to come through and they're going to win, but not by much. I'd say 34-31.
Nice. Well, that's our predictions. We'll have more for you next week. We're going to talk about top 5 quarterbacks.